Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Brian Ardis. This is the Dr. Ardis Show, where we help destroy the narrative that you're hearing in the mainstream media, in medical journals, and in medical clinics about everything that they're talking about in relationship to healthcare. We're very excited today to have a very special individual come on that I'm going to be interviewing. Most of my Dr. Ardis Show programs and podcasts that we put out weekly, I usually select a health topic of some sort, and then I build an entire presentation personally around that topic. And then we help you know and get information about research-backed natural solutions that can be considered not just the conventional medical doctor recommendations or prescriptions. And we try to make sure everybody has a very high, large, 30,000 foot bird's eye view of that health condition. And then very often we'll have people come on, not as often, but we'll do interviews with individuals who specialize in a specific technique or have an amazing story of themselves, of how they've healed from something, helped people heal from something, and we like showcasing their work. And today we are inviting Dr. Diana Wright to come on our show. She's a doctor of naturopathic medicine who is actually in Arkansas most of the time, running a clinic where she helps people beat, confront, and extend their lives after a medical diagnosis of any kind of cancer. So that is who Dr. Diana Wright is. And I would like to bring her on here. And we're going to have a very open, organic conversation about what her approaches are in practice to start addressing from a natural standpoint cancer. We pretty much see, and by Hollywood, thank you, Hollywood, you make sure that on General Hospital soap operas, ER TV shows like Grey's Anatomy and others, House, also movies, you show us, like in Breaking Bad, you show us what chemotherapy looks like, what radiation looks like, what medical treatment for cancer looks like. No one has cancer, and I'm going to bring on Diana right now, and I'd like to ask her a question before she introduces herself. Diana, Dr. Diana Wright, welcome to the show. Say hi.
Hi, Dr. Ardis. How are you?
I'm great. Love your glasses. Love your look. I have one question for you. How many people develop cancer because they are chemotherapy or radiation deficient?
How about zero?
Zero. Okay.
Zero.
Oh,
Zero
so
people need chemotherapy or radiation. And
okay. All right.
because of
So
that, because they don't have it, they get cancer. No, that doesn't happen.
that does not happen. All right. So Dr. Diana Wright, I want you to tell the audiences why it is they should listen to you about cancer and cancer treatment. Tell them a little bit about your history. Do you have a personal history with a cancer diagnosis? Probably,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know.
Yes, I do. And so in 2012, I started getting, I can tell the exact day I got cancer, and that was in January of 11. And what we did, my entire office went on the HCG diet. And one of the side effects of HCG is cancer. And I developed ovarian cancer, and it took over a year and a half for someone to diagnose me correctly. And during that period of time, I had 47 misdiagnoses. Most of them were that if I would just take antidepressants.
Hold up. Wait. Hold up. Did you say 47 misdiagnoses?
Yes.
Hold up.
Yes.
Oh, wait. This is going to be a fun conversation. Okay. Who stated these 47 incorrect diagnoses? Who said it or wrote it?
So I went to one doctor after another. I was seeing a oncology gynecologist, and you would think that would be a great thing, except that he ordered 4 pelvic ultrasounds and told me they were all negative. And here was my mistake. I did not request the test. They were all positive, but he didn't read the test.
All right. So my reason for saying that is this is an interesting dialogue we could probably do a whole show about, but I want to ask you this.
Yes, go ahead.
If it's happened to you personally, where you have been given incorrect medical diagnosis by a medical professional, does it often happen with other people that aren't you, who go to a medical doctor and receive an incorrect diagnosis? Does that happen?
So where the medical doctors are right now is they have 15 minutes per patient, meaning that they have 7.5 in the room and 7.5 to bill and document and bill. Okay. So if you think that someone can accurately diagnose you and figure out what is wrong with you in 7.5 minutes, go for it. I mean, you're going to get a misdiagnosis every time. They cannot do it. It takes me I am really, really good at diagnosing. Well, I don't want to say diagnosing because it's not what I do. I'm a naturopath. I don't diagnose, but I'm really good at figuring out issues that people have. And the reason that I do that is because I spend about 3 hours asking them questions. And I cannot tell you, but almost every person comes in with a couple of things written down on their paperwork of what their issues really are. And then they tell me all these other issues that are just totally opposite. And they might have nothing written down. And then all of a sudden there's 15 to 20 different things that are wrong with them. Constipation, teeth falling out, hair falling out, headaches, whatever. And they just start telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, this is a problem. Let's fix all this.
Okay. I just can't get off of this because it's so wild. Okay.
I know.
Okay. Listen,
it
audience.
wasn't like I went to one guy.
Okay. Yeah. Was this just one guy, Diana, right? Okay. So
No.
there's multiple professionals you went
7
to.
doctors.
I want you to add these up. Okay. I know you just heard it, but most people don't really conceptualize what you just said.
Yeah.
You went to physical offices. I'm going to guess many places away from your home. Also, you probably went all around the world looking for help.
Yes.
And you, in a period of how long, were given 47 different misdiagnoses?
No, those 47 were before. Well, 45 were before I got diagnosed with cancer. And then I had 2 after I got diagnosed.
Okay. So over how long a period? A year?
So a year and a half for the 45.
Okay.
And there were 7 doctors involved in 45. And then on the 2 during the cancer. So I had 3 brain tumors that were treated with radiation. And so they did an MRI and they saw what they thought. Well, they saw old damage, but they thought it might be another tumor. And that was my 2 right there. And I wound up making a terrible mistake. I let them do brain surgery on me. And let me just tell you, I came out unable to walk or talk. That was in 15. And it was by the hardest. I had a surgical stroke down the right side. And I was in a wheelchair. I threw that away day 1. I was like, I will not sit in a wheelchair. And so I was on a cane for a long time, about a year. And then slowly, I have found doctors and drugged myself through. So here I am.
All right. So first lesson from this interview, you can be misdiagnosed very easily in a medical doctor's office. Next lesson you're going to learn is the next question I'm going to ask you. This is not the point of this conversation, but this is important for the audiences to understand. Can you please explain to the audiences, or if you'd like me to, I will. Would you please explain to the audiences, when you said this, I promise you 99% of all people that heard you say it on this show are asking themselves, where did she get this 15-minute rule from? How come there's only 15 minutes for an MD to go in and talk to you? Where does that 15 minutes come from? Because there is a real reason they're only spending 7 minutes in the room at max and 7 minutes on the computer billing your stuff. Where does that 15-minute thing come from? Because so many people around the world watch drug commercials, Dr. Wright. They watch drug commercials, and what do you see? You see a person sitting in front of an office desk of a medical doctor, and it looks like they're sitting there spending an hour with you just learning about your case, which has never occurred in real life unless you go to Dr. Wright's office and sit with her for 3 hours. No medical doctor on earth walks in and spends 10 minutes with a patient. Never. They will go in for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, walk out. They do not go in there for longer than that. Can you please explain? Because people are probably like, wait a minute, do they walk out of med school being told you got 15 minutes per patient? No.
Okay,
Where does that 15 minutes come from? Because it is important why it is she said it. Why the 15 minutes? Where's that come from?
It comes from your insurance company.
Comes from your insurance company, people.
So the insurance company tells the doctors, okay, but figure this one out. Let's just common sense this one, okay? So your oncologist is supposed to see between 50 and 60 patients a day. Now, if you were giving everybody 15 minutes, you've only got 4 times 8, let's 8 hours it. That's 24 patients. So they're supposed to see twice what their ability to see is. Now, if the guy doesn't go pee and he doesn't eat lunch, that, you know, I mean, but that's highly unusual that would happen. Okay. So he's got to go to the hospital before he goes to the office. And then he has to go to the hospital again after he goes to the office. So if he shows up at 8 and leaves at 5, I mean, figure it out. He can't even see you for 15 minutes. He can't even see you for 7.5 minutes. He's got 1 or 2 minutes with every client. And that's why when they walk out that room, they don't know your name. And when I had all those misdiagnoses, I can't even tell you the number of times I got told, if you'll just take these antidepressants, you'd be fine. You wouldn't have to worry if you just, take these. And you know what I'd say to them? I'd say, God would not do this to a woman. I am telling you right now, God did not do this to me, and he would not do this to any other woman. I'm not taking these antidepressants.
I also don't remember like Jesus, sitting on a hill, inviting all the children to come up, but giving a disclaimer. Just so you know, I can only see your child for 15 minutes. I bill the insurance that much time for my therapy and counseling to your children, for spiritual matters. No, Jesus wouldn't do that. God wouldn't do it. Medicine does that. Okay. So your medical doctor and your medical clinics and hospitals know, and the people that bill insurance know, that the codes they put down for the time in which you have been seen as a patient come in this. They come in codes that read 15-minute intervals, 30-minute intervals, 45-minute intervals, 100 minutes, whatever it is. So they have these codes, and they have to hit at least a 15-minute code, and they have to go for at least half of that time, either in the room or working on your case, to be able to bill for the time you came in for them to get paid. So they have to at least walk in the room to show face that, hey, put me on the clock of my 15 minutes. I'm in here, but I got to get out of here. I got to pee. I got to urinate. I got to go to the lounge to get a drink. I'm thirsty, man. I have 100 billion people I'm supposed to see every day. And I have 15-minute billable hours that I have to bill for. So that's why your medical doctor doesn't stand in there very often with you, and why nurses and PAs spend more time with you than they do. So just, that's a big lesson for all of you to learn. There's a reason. Everybody asks me, how come the medical doctors never appear to spend a lot of time in the room? I learn more from the nurses or from the PAs that come in. There's a reason. And it's all dictated. Your healthcare and your treatment by medical professionals is completely dictated by the health insurance policy you carry. And it sucks. Can you imagine being misdiagnosed, being given a prescription, then go home thinking you've been diagnosed correctly? Dr. Diana Wright, you go to CVS and Walgreens, turn in your prescription from your 30-second visit of your medical doctor, who they billed 15 minutes to your insurance. You hand over the prescription for your new ulcerative colitis diagnosis drug, and then the pharmacist looks at you and goes like this, sorry, but that drug's not covered by insurance. Now that person has to go back to their medical doctor, get another 15-minute billable visit to get a new prescription for a different drug covered by your insurance. And now you're starting to grasp here from the few minutes of this interview that health insurance is a problem, and it dictates your treatment and your health care. And it is a big, heavy, obvious distraction and a heavy upset for all medical doctors around the world is healthcare insurance. It sucks. People hate it. It doesn't allow the medical doctor to practice medicine as it has been defined from the beginning. They are now being told by healthcare insurance companies what you can and cannot do, how long you will and will not be in the room. And then, of course, corporate-owned hospitals restrict your time as an employee, as a doctor, nurse practitioner, PA, physician's assistant, you name it. It's all controlled by insurance. It really sucks, unfortunately.
So I became a nurse. I'm an RN and a naturopath. Have MBA too. But I became a nurse before insurance were controlling doctors. Okay. So I became a nurse in 1980, and insurance came came to the forefront in the late 80s, early 90s. And let me tell you, they used to practice completely differently. And when I was a new nurse than they do now. And that's why people now are losing faith in the medical community, is because they are doing all these inaccurate diagnoses. And they are, they're doing the best they can, but nobody can diagnose in 7.5 minutes.
Nope.
and nobody can diagnose in 1 minute. And the other thing that happens is not every issue gets reported to a doctor when they, are looking quickly at a file. They don't turn the pages, and it's a problem. It's a problem, and everyone thinks it's free care because it's prepaid care, meaning that you pay the insurance company. That's prepaid, but they think it's free.
Nope.
Insurance is free, and everything else is you have to pay for.
Exactly right. How about everybody go look at your paychecks from your employer and look at how much money is being drawn out for your health insurance policy. Then you'll realize, oh, it's not free. Yep. You could have been saving maybe $10,000 to $20,000 a year on premiums for health insurance if you just dropped it and paid cash for Dr. Diana Wright. All right. So here we go. Dr. Diana Wright, we're going to do a little summary, and I want you to give the summary. What is the normal expected plan for a person who doesn't go to your practice or to other practices who have natural solutions to offer? What is the normal scenario people in my audiences and around the world experience today, tomorrow, in the future, if they go to a medical doctor and they're like, I've got a lump in my breast, or I have something that says I've got a symptom, they're coughing up blood while eating, blah, blah. Okay, so then you recommend, or they're recommended to go see a specialist. If they are ever diagnosed with cancer, what are the next expected steps they typically will see? I'd like to spend about 5 minutes just reviewing what's the norm that people will have, because I want you, for the rest of the show, we're going to dive into what will people expect when they visit a healer who has natural respect for nature, the immune system, and then helps guide or coach a person back to health. So what is the normal conventional medical model for treating cancer patients right now?
So normally someone who suspects cancer will get referred to a medical oncologist. But I've seen other practitioners keeping patients and not sending them to the oncologist. But normally you'll go to an oncologist. An oncologist only has chemotherapy to give you, only. And no chemotherapy is FDA approved. No chemotherapy, they all have side effects.
Stop, say it again. What'd you just say? I think you just lied to the whole world. What'd you just say?
No chemotherapy is FDA approved.
Hold on, we're about to get kicked off of the Dr. Ardis Show. Are you publishing lies here that chemotherapy is not FDA approved?
No.
Hey,
and let me tell you. So I'll just throw a couple
This
of
could be a very controversial conspiratorial program.
It probably
Statements
is.
like that.
So Ben mustine is mustard gas from the First World War.
Okay, say that again.
Ben mustine, mustard gas from the First World War.
Is that chemotherapy?
That's chemotherapy. And it's 100 and something years old. So, I mean, who would sign up for that? I guarantee if I take that mustard gas from the First World War and I pour it out on the floor, it's going to eat a hole through the concrete. I guarantee it will. And so you just have to worry about that. Carboplatin is melted down platinum. Platinum is a substance they make rings out of.
Is that another chemo?
Oh, yes, of course. I could go
I
on.
don't know the brand names of chemo. You're educating my audiences. Okay, this is what they're going to hear. Keep going.
I won't go into anymore. I'll just stop right there. But anyway, you have to realize, you have to kind of stop and think about when people say that, okay, I'm not against doing what you have to do to keep the person alive. Okay. If we are on a very short time frame of that person living, then I say, let's do whatever we got to do. Let's do chemo. Let's do whatever we have to do to keep them alive, because natural things take longer than if you do surgery. You can cut something out and throw it away. That's how long it takes to get rid of it. Okay. It's like, boop, gone. Okay. But is it really gone? Because our eyes cannot see cells that are left behind. You have a robotic surgery that can't see cells that are left behind. I mean, I don't know. So, I mean, we've all heard about all these people that have been cancer free, and then the next year die of cancer. So
let's do a review real quick. So anybody who's conventionally diagnosed with cancer is usually sent to a medical oncologist. Their only real recourse is going to be offering chemotherapy.
That's all they have.
That's it. Okay.
they can do what they call immunotherapy, but you need to be aware of what immunotherapy really is. Now, some of it is drugs like Keytruda, but then some is like, so they call it BAC therapy, and it's concentrated tuberculosis injected into the bladder. Okay, so it's more highly concentrated than any tuberculosis you would ever get. And it's injected in the bladder. Why? So they feel like they can cure tuberculosis and they can't cure cancer. They use highly concentrated measles, highly concentrated mumps for other forms of cancer, and they call that immunotherapy. So you have to be aware of what immunotherapy is. And then there are drug forms of immunotherapy like Keytruda. But
I've also heard that some people will be given oral chemotherapy for years. Is that true?
Yes, that's with breast cancer. That's usually tamoxifen is one that's given for 5 to 10 years, and it has lots of side effects.
It has horrible side effects, and I personally know people on it right now in their 5th or 6th, 7th year, and their whole life is pathetic.
Yeah, they have lots
Energy wise, muscle wasting wise, energy wise. They're always coughing, always getting sick easily. It's very horrific. All right. So that's what you're going to typically see. They're either going to cut out parts of you, could be an emergency.
Now that's the oncologist. There are 3 guys. Okay. There's also the radiologist.
Okay.
And the only thing he's got to sell is radiology. So he's going to do a CT, MRI, PET scan, or he's going to do a cyber knife, nano knife, deca knife, whatever he's got to pay off that month. He's going to use that machine at your expense or whatever, maybe to get you well, hopefully to get you well. And then you've got the surgeon, and he only does one thing, and that is surgery. So if you go to a surgeon, you're not getting chemotherapy. So anyway, you need to realize who you're going to and what you're buying. Okay, because that is, or what your insurance is buying. And while we're on this subject, one bag of chemotherapy, one bag, and nobody takes one bag. That's terribly dangerous to take one bag or 2 bags and not finish a round, because it kills off the immune system first and then the cancer. It's super dangerous. But one bag costs $65,000 or more. So, I mean, that's a lot of money that your insurance is paying. When you walk in the door as a cancer patient, you're worth $1 million. I mean, that's what they see, because you've got $800,000 in chemo usually, just walking in the door for one round. But then you've got your lab, you've got all your radiology testing, blah, blah, blah. And so you're worth $1 million.
I think it's ridiculous that tennis shoes can cost over $100 right now. I'm always like, I don't want to pay $100 for a pair of shoes. That sounds like a racket. Well, this is like 1,000,000 times worse, that your health is being only offered. Your life is going to be saved by buying a $65,000 bag of plutonium. What did you say? Platinum or mustard gas? It's amazing. It's great. Okay.
Could be something else.
Rat poisoning is cheaper. You can get it at Home Depot or Lowe's. If you want to poison yourself, go get cheap poison. It's at Home Depot. Go get it. All right. So now there's got to be something different between what you experience with medical professionals and then coming to your clinic. I want you to first tell the patients or the audiences watching this, what is the name of your clinic? What's your website? Where can they find you? Where are you located? And then we are going to dive into, what do people experience when they walk in the door of your practice? I want you to talk the audiences through how someone who knows how to use the human body to help the body heal, how it is they experience that, because it's totally different than conventional medicine. All right. So tell them about your facility.
So the name of the clinic is Divine Health, and the website to the clinic is www.dianawrightnd.com. And the phone number is 479.
Wait, hold up. Spell out DianaWrightND.com.
DianaWrightND.com.
Very good.
And the phone number is 479-439-5353. And yes, I had to look at because I never call that number.
I'm sure you don't. Very good. All right. So if people come to your practice, I mean, do people have to come to your practice in order to get help physically, or do you do remote phone calls,
No.
consultations? What do you do?
Yes, I do that. But yes. So what we do is we take a DNA swab. They do it themselves. They take
Is
a
this
swab.
before they come in? Okay, they call your
No,
office or they show up.
no,
What's
this
your
is
office
if
going to
I
tell
was
them to do?
this is if I was doing a remote.
Okay.
They would do, if I was testing somebody remotely, they would do a DNA swab and send it to me. And then I would analyze the swab. And then I would call them and give them the results. I write a report. The report could be anywhere from probably 8 pages to 20 pages of what our findings are. Okay. And then we give that to them. Now, if they come in, it's a little bit more, there's more I can do. Sure. So if they come in, we don't do a DNA swab because we got the entire being there. And so we start with testing. And so one of the things that we do is pH testing. Well, I can't pH test someone who's not there. Right. Okay. So they don't get that if they're not there. But we pH test, and that tells what kind of digestion we've got going on. And it tells cancer wants to live in acid. And so we want to get that pH into an alkaline range. You only heal, an alkaline range would be anything 6.4 or above. You only heal at a 7.88. And so what your body does when you like have a cut on your hand, your body's going to rob pH from other areas of the body, but it's going to leave us vulnerable to a circulating tumor cell. So we'll get to how you fix that. So I happen to have in my nifty book.
Hold on, we're going to show it. All right, so there is a book here we're going to be referencing throughout this interview. Diana sent me one. It's a great resource. It's called Turning Months into Years. That's the whole goal of your practice, right? People are being told they only got 6 months to a year to live, and we're like, hey, let's see if we can extend that, shall we? Very exciting. All right, so she created this entire incredible resource of how she helps people as they walk in the door. And we're going to
on page 110, you've got all the medicines you need from your doctor. And one of them is, the first one is cimetidine or Tagamet, 800 milligrams at night to get rid of circulating tumor cells. Okay. So those are the cells that circulate through your body. They're immortal. And what they're doing is looking for a place to land and grow. And when they do that, we call that a metastasis. Okay. And so if you take Tagamet, 800 milligrams at night, 7 days at least before you have surgery, then it stops those circulating tumor cells from metastasizing. Okay. So anyway, so that's one thing that we always do. But getting back to this, what I normally do with somebody that walks in the door is, well, first I greet them and I tell them my name, and they're always so surprised that I actually told them that my name. I'm going, hi, I'm Diana Wright. I'm glad you're here. Kind of speak to them. And I cannot tell you the number of people that have said no one has ever spoken to me before, and no one has ever told me. And I even have one woman who was a nurse practitioner, and she said, I decided to, when I walked into this building, if you did not greet me, I was going to walk out. And I was like, I greet everybody. It's just what I do. But anyway, and then we start with the testing, and we do a comprehensive look at everything that's going on with that person. Then we do the hormones. Then we do a informational scan to figure out what kind of supplements they might personally need. We do a general scan to include their vertebrae. Yes, their vertebrae, because their vertebrae I'll develop first with their brain, and that all the organs come from that, and the teeth come from that. And so we do a dental and a vertebral scan. Then we move on to those scans right there might point us to doing a different scan. But if you came in and told me you had breast cancer, I'd run a breast scan. I'd also run a cancer. And then I do complementary therapies, whatever complementary therapy is going to help you. It might be emotional therapy, it might be spiritual therapy. It might be Reiki. It might be, I don't know. It's different on everybody. And then I do
So not everybody gets the exact same treatment in your practice. Is that what you're saying? It's not cookie cutter like the medical profession. Okay,
we customize it to their issues. And then they get a food allergy and an environmental allergy scan. Then they get a gene scan, and we look at the genes to see. I look at 3 main genes. I look at others too, but I look at the MTHFR A1298C, which is indicative of a tumor, and if it's treated by methylated Bs. And I also look at the MTHFR C677T, which is rheumatoid arthritis, which is also treated with methylated Bs. But here's the deal. If somebody has a double mutation in that 677T, then what they've got is an increased homocysteine level, and then they've got increased chances of strokes and high blood pressure. So we look at all of that. And then the other thing I really want to look at is an increased vitamin D level. I mean, if they've got a mutation in that, because if they've got a mutation in their vitamin D, they can't make it from the sun. It has to be supplemented. Now, if you get vitamin D on board over 110, it will stop the circulating tumor cells from metastasizing. So this is how critical vitamin D is. So 1/3 of the people will totally get well on vitamin D over 110. 1/3 will go into what's called remission, and then 1/3 will feel better, but they won't get well. But the whole thing is it stops metastasis on everybody, and that is the name of the game.
That is number one, I think, concern of people that are going to show up in your practice anyway, right? Is number one, can we slow down the danger?
Yes.
Can we stop it infiltrating all other organs, tissues in the human body? Can we stop it from spreading? Yes,
Right.
so I'm sure that is something that is always scary on top of mind of everybody that comes into your practice. So first is stop the spread of the cancer.
Right.
And vitamin D can be a critical tool for that. I have a question. Do you then need that same drug you just mentioned that they give 800 milligrams at night if you're using vitamin D to stop those circulating tumor cells?
I did both personally.
And do you do both with all patients?
I think you definitely should do it before you have a surgical procedure.
Okay.
And what I did it for about 7 years.
Got it.
Because I did both for about 7 years. Because, here's the thing that I always see in medicine is that research changes over time. And I just wanted to be sure and not sorry.
Amen.
Okay. So I had stage 4 everywhere by the time it was found. And, I think about it, and God had to have me have stage 4 everywhere so that I could get rid of it and then tell others about it. Because every one of the oncologists, surgeons, radiologists, they said stage 4 is a death sentence. They said there's no getting over stage 4. You cannot cure it. It's going to be there forever. Well, I don't have it. I had a CT. I got the results today. I hadn't had a CT since 17, but I went to.
And you are not artificial intelligence, right? You are not a chat GPT configuration. You are a real person. This isn't a hologram or a Hollywood production. You are a real person still alive after having stage 4 breast cancer that's metastasized to the rest of the body. Ovarian cancer. There you go. Even worse, or wherever it is. It's horrible no matter what. And scary.
It's all terrible. But anyway, yes. And so they said I couldn't be cured. And here I stand 12 years later.
So how much confidence do you have in helping people who have been diagnosed with cancer?
100%. I mean, I can't save every single person that comes in here, because everybody has to sign on to do what my recommendations are, and not everyone wants to do my recommendations.
All right. So I think this is very helpful. I love this interview so far, Dr. Wright. Let's dive into your steps in here, because this will pretty much summarize what it is you're going to do for people. What are some of the expectations people are going to be met with if they decide to not go the conventional route or tried it and it failed or made them worse, and then they show up in your office? I'm sure that happens sometimes too, right? They're like,
I know.
what
Well,
do,
first
what
thing,
do I do now, Dr. Wright, now that it
well,
didn't
the
work?
first thing we try to do is get that immune system that fighting for them, because they've got to have their immune system. Okay, so there is
You actually put this on page 152. Actually, you have a cancer summary on page 152, and she just said number one, improve the immune system. This is amazing. Okay, great.
yeah. And so that's the first thing I work on, is getting the immune system up.
Okay.
And so how do you do that? The immune system is the two things you can orally take to improve the immune system is vitamin C and beta glucans. Beta glucans are mushrooms. Okay. So you can either take pills or you can just eat mushrooms, but whatever you want to do. So the other thing is walking barefoot outside, getting sunshine, getting adequate sleep, adequate water, adequate food, and pooping. Nobody wants to poop. A lot of constipation now, and we got to get that going. But okay, let's talk about water too. That's critical. They need to be drinking at least half their weight in ounces of water. So if they weigh 100 pounds, they should have 50 ounces of water. Plus, if they drink something like coffee or, God forbid, Coke, then they would have to offset that with more water. So if they drink 12 ounces of coffee, 12 ounces of water, 12 ounces of Coke, 12 ounces of water, whatever you got has to be offset.
I love that. Yeah, if you're going to drink crap, go drink water at the same amount to help dilute what it is you just put in your body. Okay, so this is going to be great at the Healing for the Ages conference, Dr. Wright. I'm going to put up on the screen live video evidence of white blood cells swimming between red blood cells to get to fight bacteria, cancer cells, viral infected cells, you name it, all kinds of stuff. I'm going to show all the video evidence. And in those documents, they talk, or in these video footage, the scientists talk about, this is why it's so important to drink water, because you need more water in the blood. People who are dehydrated, these cells have a harder time navigating through the tissues if there's not enough water there to hydrate the body. So this is a beautiful explanation of why it is water so beneficial at boosting and supporting the immune system's abilities.
And, you know, I have people come in all the time with cancer, and you'll say, how much water do you drink? None. What do you drink? Well, Coke if I drink anything. Are you kidding? I mean, what do we do with a Coke? We pour it on a battery to get off the acid. It's got a pH of like 2 or 3. It's terrible.
All right, well, let's do that. I'm going to continue here. So you got improve the immune system. You talked about water and other things. And then the second one is increase your vitamin C load. All right, let's talk about that. You haven't even mentioned that yet. So why vitamin C?
So when you have cancer, one of the things that is in my book, How Your Body Breaks Down, and it's on page 24. And one of the things that happens to your body when it breaks down is you go into a depletion of vitamin C right here. Okay, so let's talk about vitamin C. So when you orally take vitamin C, that's an antioxidant. It's like it removes, like rust from a car. It takes the aging out of the body. But if you take it IV, it's a pro-oxidant. Totally different mechanism for working. So what it does when you take IV, it works as a natural chemotherapy, and you go in a little bit hungry, and the vitamin C's chemical compound is just one molecule different from sugar. So the cancer sees it coming and thinks, oh, good, we're getting sugar. And the vitamin C goes in and it boils out the cell like pouring hydrogen peroxide on a cut. And so it boils the cancer out, leaves everything else in the cell just perfect. And you feel better when that happens.
That's awesome. How much vitamin C do you usually put people on, or is there not a recommendation? It's just per person.
No. If I have someone who doesn't have cancer, I recommend 3,000 units a day, 3,000 milligrams a day. But if I have someone with oral, if I have someone with cancer, I recommend 10,000 a day oral. Now, but for a IV, if they find they need probably 65 to 85 milligrams, and it's 65 to 85,000 milligrams IV. Okay, it's a massive dose.
Yep, very good.
It's a
Awesome. All right. So
massive
you got vitamin C there. Then you write number 3 is next step is that you address with your
body
people.
stressors.
Remove body
Body
stressors.
stressors.
All right. What are some examples of those? Now, just for context, Dr. Wright, we're going to get through some of this, but I want to make sure we touch on stuff you want to get to. There's about 12 minutes left in this interview. So just for timing, let's
Okay.
get through some of these. So what are some of the body stressors you would be looking for that somebody might experience?
Parasites. Number 1 is parasites. I'm looking for parasites, but I'm looking for anything else that's causing a drag on their body, causing to pull them down. And it could be anything. I mean, it could be
Emotions, stress of dying from cancer diagnosis.
Oh, that happens to be in my book on page 19, right here on page 19 in the book. And there's a chart on emotions. So here's what happens to somebody. I'm going to get, let's move on. Yeah. Page 19 is the emotional stress. So let's move on real quick to electrical frequency, because that is what we're talking about with emotions. Okay. So a person is born with an electrical frequency of 68 to 88, with 68 being normal, 88 being a genius. Okay. As this falls down, the electrical frequency has to fall all the way down to 42 to develop cancer. Okay, now, what happens when you get cancer? You go to the oncologist, and the oncologist says, you have cancer, and your emotions go. And the emotional impact pushes that person down to 25, which is where death begins. And it may push them on further, closer to death. Now, when you are diagnosed as having cancer, you get into grief, you get into depression, you get into all of these fear, anxiety. I mean, all of that's detailed.
Abandonment by God. How could you let this happen to me? Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Yep.
All kinds of stuff. And it just pushes you closer to death. So we need to move that up. Well, luckily, I have a machine for that will boost up your internal electrical frequency. And that's one of the things I do try to worry about. And then I get that pH fixed.
How do you measure pH? What fluid or what test do you use to manage it? I've seen spit test, urine test, blood test. What do you do?
I do the urine and I do the saliva, 2 different strips. I don't use the same strip. And so and what I'm looking for is a normal would be anything around 6.4, but with cancer, what you're normally going to expect to see is a pH of acid. My lowest my strip will go is 5.5, and that's normally what I see. So their pH may be even lower than that. And so everyone thinks that's not a big number, but you have to realize that pH is a logarithmic number. So it's a 1 is a 1 and 1 0, but a 14 is a 1 and 14 zeros.
Wow.
Oh, lots of difference.
Yeah,
okay. And then the next thing I need to do is make sure they have good fats on board, because every single one of your cells, the cell wall is a double layer of fats. So we've got to make sure the fats are good, not rancid. All of our fats that they sell in the grocery, they're vegetable oil, all kinds of oils except olive oil and coconut oil are already rancid by the time we buy them, and they have a perfume in them to disguise it with our nose. So what are good fats? Eggs and butter, olive oil, olives, anything, coconut oil, coconut cream, anything coconut, nuts and seeds, and MCT oil.
What about lard?
I'm not really familiar with that, being I
know a lot of people down south that like to use it to make their tortillas and all their Mexican food, is just throw lard in a skillet. I don't have a clue anything about lard. I've never used it, but just curious.
My sister-in-law puts lard in everything, even oatmeal. So I don't know.
Has she ever developed cancer?
No.
I mean, I don't know.
But she does have a weight problem.
She has a weight problem. Okay, so yeah. Do fats make us fat?
Not normally.
Not normally. What about this fat fad, this diet for the last 50 years where we should be avoiding fats as Americans?
That's horrific. Perfect. Okay, so let's talk about what your body is made of. Your body is proteins and fats. Your body doesn't have any rice cakes in it. Okay, I'm sorry, just said. Okay, then I want to get raw materials in your body, enough raw materials so that you have all the supplements necessary to make a cell, to make a new cell. And then
You're starting to sound like me, Dr. Wright. Let me just throw something out there to you. You might find this exciting. I often talk about the periodic table of elements that we all learned in elementary school. The basic elements that make up of life, our bodies, everything in nature. Why are supplements so weird when we're talking about everything on the periodic table of elements? Magnesium, selenium, zinc, iodine, calcium, hydrogen, oxygen. Why is sodium considered so bad? Salt's bad for you, yet it's on the periodic table of elements as something your body requires to function.
Salt is not on the periodic table. Salt is sodium chloride.
Amen.
Sodium's on there and chloride's on there. Two different things.
Exactly right. So anyway, you need your minerals, you need your supplements, you need the raw materials of life. They're found on the periodic table elements in your food. Eat it, drink it, inhale it. God gave you nature that provides all those building blocks. Okay, great. That's number 7 on your list here. Have raw materials present in the body to make cells. All right, I have a question for you. Does the cells of the human body use Coca-Cola to build new cells?
No.
Does the body require Nabisco elements from Oreo cookies and other things to build the human body?
Oh my gosh, no. In fact, that would probably block, because I bet that those Oreos have got something hydrolyzed in them.
Amen.
But I don't know. I'm just thinking.
I guarantee it.
But anyway, and then the next thing we need to do to get that immune system working for you is we need to decrease the allergies. So
this one's interesting. I actually didn't know anything about this until I read it in your book. All right. So describe this allergy perception.
So think about the immune system. Think about they're really not allergies, they're sensitivities. And think about the sensitivities. So it's totally different than what we've been taught. Okay, we've been taught if you have an allergy to something, you have it forever and ever. Amen. Okay, we also have been taught that allergies are mucus forming. They're not really. They could be they could be insomnia, they could be anxiety, they could be irritation, they could be upsetness, they could be emotional. That's what a lot of allergies are. Or they could be anything else. They could even be suicidal. Okay, but if your immune system is strong enough, it beats the allergies down. But if the immune system begins to fall, the sensitivities go up and you get more and more and more of the sensitivities. Now, we got to figure out what those are and just stay away from them for like 10 to 30 days. That's all.
Is that what you do the food allergy testing for?
I do the food allergy testing and I do the environmental. And the environmental would be things like rubber, cotton. I mean, it could be pesticides. It could be anything like that. Okay. And then we look.
Do they have Coca-Cola on there? Maybe people are sensitive to Coca-Cola. Maybe they have allergies to that stuff. Maybe they should know if they're allergic. I would love to hear that. I have a Dr. Pepper allergy.
I think everybody's allergic to Coke.
I'm allergic to Crisco. I just found out I'm allergic to margarine.
You know
Country
what?
Crock.
That
Parquet.
comes up all the time. Those come up all the time.
I bet they do.
They do.
I can't believe people are still eating them. Somebody mentioned it on Saturday at a party I was at for a grandbaby.
What did they say?
And they were talking about the cupcakes. And the person who made them was there at the party. And I was like, so did you use Crisco in that? Oh, heavens, no. And then I said, wait, do they still use Crisco in baking? And they're like, oh, yeah, all the time. I don't do that. I was like, okay, great, good. Just checking. Thank you.
I wonder what
I thought we learned about margarine years ago.
And then we always do a gene scan, which we already talked about, and increase the vitamin D.
Oh, this is very good. All right. So on number 9, she writes, epigenetics and methylation issues addressed. Okay. So you said a couple times earlier in this program, you said something really quick multiple times, and I guarantee you some of the audience didn't catch it. I want to make sure they got it. She said methylated bees. Now, I want to explain to you that is not a type of bee flying around in a hive gathering pollen. What are you talking about with methylated bees?
Okay, so I'm talking about a bee vitamin.
There you go.
And I'm not talking about a regular bee. So anybody, you can just figure anybody with blue eyes is going to have a methylation issue.
Okay.
And I've not seen that yet. of someone that had blue eyes. We're all mixed up in America. Everyone's mixed up. So they have blue-eyed parents, they have brown-eyed parents, they have green-eyed parents. Everybody's all a melting bat. And so the methylation issue is a 50% dominant gene, meaning that if you've got blue eyes, you can pretty well guarantee you're going to have some type of methylation issue. And not only that, we need to worry about whether you've got an issue for vitamin D, because if you can only have vitamin D if you supplement, you need to supplement. So when I personally had cancer, I was brown as a nut. It was June 28th. I'd been out in my pool all that whole month. I went in, they said, we need to check your vitamin D level. I said, that's ridiculous. And guess what? I had that gene and I had zero
wow
vitamin D when I had cancer everywhere. So,
well, this is the first I've heard about the blue eye connection to methylation issues. I've never heard that before. Even in practice, I saw tons of MTHFR issues, methylation issues. And anyway, this is a very good topic. All right, so we're down to 1:30, Dr. Diana Wright. What else would you like to make sure people are aware of? I have something I want to say.
Go ahead.
Many people who are concerned and want to continue learning from Dr. Diana Wright. She gave you her phone number. She gave you her web address. You can go find her. However, she's also going to be in Dallas at the Healing for the Ages conference and is going to be a participant on a panel, a live panel that we're going to be discussing on Thursday night, September 12th. If you're in person, come on down. If you're digital, come watch it. There's going to be a live Q&A, and we're going to be discussing the known causes of cancers. And we've got several reputable people from around the world that only focus on natural healing solutions for cancer. And Dr. Diana Wright, I've invited. She's going to be there, and we're very excited and honored to have her there. Okay. 45 seconds left. What would you like to say to the audience?
So this isn't really a battle that you can win without a coach. Now you need someone that can help you. I didn't have a coach, so I had to go out and read 80 books and get myself educated. I had to go get my doctor of naturopathic medicine because I didn't have anyone that could help me out. And you've got to find a coach, and then you've got to get a program and go with it. You can't take one thing from one person, another thing from another, and expect it to win. You've got to follow a program, whatever program that is. And I'm not here trying to be the end all be all. There are certainly clinics outside the U.S. that can do a whole lot more than I can do, and I highly recommend a lot of them. But I would definitely recommend that each person get that book.
It's actually subtitled "A Quick Start Guide: How to Decrease Stressors That Lead to Cancer and Advanced Diseases." So please get a copy of this book. Where can they find it?
It's on Amazon, or you can call my office at 479-439-5353, and we'll send a copy right out to you. But yes, they definitely, everyone needs to be aware of what they need to do to overcome cancer, and it can be overcome. I'm standing here as an example.
That's what I want the audience to know.
If you go and see my movie on YouTube for free, it's called The Unbelievable Plight of Mrs. Wright. You'll see one guy that I saved who's on the movie.
That's incredible. Dr. Diana Wright, thank you for being a humanitarian. Thank you for going through the experiences you did that put you on this journey to help many other people navigate a very scary, anxiety-created moment of diagnosis for a condition that is so scary to so many. And I'm so honored to be able to meet people who aren't afraid of these conditions and have figured out how on their own to improve their own lifespan with such a horrific diagnosis, and then piled on with it 47 other misdiagnoses before that. All right, I'm Dr. Ardis. This is the Dr. Ardis Show. Dr. Diana Wright, thank you so much for joining us. God bless you. God bless you at home. And we love you and are grateful for everybody who contributes to this platform. God bless you and thank you very much. I can't wait to see you in September, and let's do more shows in the future over specific topics and keep educating people around the world.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for you and being you. God bless you. We'll see you next week on the Dr. Ardis Show.
Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Ardis, and I am so excited it is finally time to let you know that registration for the Healing for the Ages 2.0 Dates September 12th, 13th, and 14th in Dallas, Texas are now available. I need to let you know though, there really truly is only 500 seats in person at this conference. So those are going to sell out fast. I would really love to see you there. So hurry up and get your tickets. I am so excited to have you there. Come join me, Dr. Ardis, Dr. Henry Ely, Dr. Ed Group, and Dr. Janice Schmidt for another thrilling Celebration of Solutions event, September 12th, 13th, and 14th in Dallas, Texas. We can't wait to see you there.